You know everyone around here, like. Well, Earl, mate, I appreciate you doing this.
That's all right.
As I say, I've been trying to, like, get this down for a while to sit down with you and do this, and we've picked a beautiful day to do it, like.
It's gorgeous day on the time.
We're homeless for 25 years, addicted to crack and
Heroin, crack, methadone, 20 years.
And you can go into it as deeply as you want, but I just want a kind of like history of, like, you know, how did you go from that space you were in to being homeless, struggling with addiction, to where you are now, where, you know, you've got your own home, you're working, you're inspiring kids like in unis, doing like what's it called, like
It's
life
lived experience,
talks and stuff. So like, what's that journey been like, and like where did it all start basically?
So for me, behind us, South Shields, born and bred. I was brought up in a household where my mum was amazing, trying to support her two boys, being a single parent, but obviously she met a partner and there was a lot of domestic violence involved, which was an effect on us. And as time went on, it's something like I thought was just normal, you know, to have that sort of behaviour or have that setting, but obviously it wasn't. And we ended up leaving like where we lived in Ashgrove and went to Laygate, but it was like also lifting us up from our comfort zone and our friends and moving away and had to relocate. Not that far away, but it was a relocation, and it was a case of I started hanging around with older lads, where one thing led to another. We just like smoked a bit of dope, they had acid and pills and this, that and the other, and I thought I was Jack the Lad being part of all that. Being influenced by elders, and you were part of it, and I had a reputation with that. And as time went on, I realised that I wasn't really their pal. They weren't my pal, they were just using me because they were putting me through chemist windows and stuff like that, you know, to get their money for their things, and I'd get 1% of whatever they've got, really, and I didn't care because at the time I was just getting fed, I was getting drugs and this, that and the other. My mum weren't happy about the situation. I was going off the rails and I ended up running away, 14 years old. Ended up in the care system in South Tyneside, every care home. But at 14 years old, because the time between 14 and just 17, it's a short space of time, but so much happened in that time. And it's quite surreal sometimes to even talk about it and think, you know what I mean? Like all that has happened to a young kid in a short space of time. 14 years old, ran away, and I hitchhiked up to Scotland to Inverness with I remember my pair of roller boots, Bowers. I did. Swear to God, there's Earl, 14 years old, skating around Inverness.
Inverness.
Yeah, absolutely nuts, mate. And the family that I went and knocked on the door to, I met them at this, because obviously I was fostered through the Bernardo's, and his family went to church. It was through a Christian organisation at Butlins. I met this family and this friends, and they went, oh, if you ever want to pop up, you know what I mean, just let us know. Well, they'll just took that as an invitation, so they'll just hitchhikes up there, you know what I mean? And obviously they contacted the services and the authorities down here, and I picked up that they were coming to get me, so I ended up running away from there as well, where because I was under 16, I'm still by law under jurisdiction of social services and stuff like that. And I ended up running hitchhiking all the way down to London, and I ended up in King's Cross, quite brutal, you know, at a young age. And I asked a police officer, believe it or not, is there any homeless hostels anywhere like I can say? And for a police officer that observed me, he must have known I was young, but he gave me directions to a hostel, which was in Tottenham Court Road, just off Oxford Street. And I thought it was, he said it was Centre Point, right, which there is a homeless place called Centre Point. But Earl arrives at Tottenham Court Road tube station and see this big glass building, it's so fancy and money, and it had Centre Point on it, so I just rock up the stairs and go to this big reception, and there's this guy with a tie and a suit behind it, and can I help you? I went, is there any rooms, please? And he started chuckling at himself. He went, this ain't the hostel, mate. The hostel's across the road. This is an office building, right? Damn. So I went across the road. It was the second left off Oxford Street, and I seen straight away the difference between that building to that hostel, and the people outside, they just scared the shit out of me. So I didn't bother even going to the door, and I ended up going down the tube station of Tottenham Court Road, and there was a big long tunnel at the end. It had a snooker hole there, which was managed by the Triads, and I see this kid sitting down begging. And I was just observing that, and I was hungry, I had no money on me, and I seen him get up and go, but I seen people giving me money, so I never knew what begging was. So I sat down, and about an hour went by, and people are giving me money and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden, coincidental, these two lads approached me and go, "Oh, that's me pitch." Well, they were Geordies, right? And then they heard my accent, they went, "Oh, where are you from?" I went, "South Shield." They went, "Oh, we're from the Toon." They were called Chris and Steve. And basically,
Harry, don't worry about this. Just walk past.
Sorry.
Put yourself on your...
Get in, lad. Thank you.
I'll have to stay around here all day. Just catch people coming past. Get them to add my YouTube channel.
You should have a little site with your YouTube channel.
Okay. Then it's as easy as that.
Yeah. Who needs to pay for publicity, you know what I mean? Just rock it with the key. Where were we? Oh yeah, so I ended up in Tottenham Court Road, and I was sitting down, these lads approached me, and I found out what territory is when you're on the street and begging. But within 24 hours, they let me crash with them outside this Centre Point building, the office one. It was all scaffolding getting redone and that, and they had a little bit underneath the scaffolding. So I was sitting down there, and I see this kiddie at first, and I knew later on, I didn't know he was putting a needle in his arm. I didn't think nothing, but the vision's still there. You know, I still remember that. And this lass come up, the blonde-haired lass, and Chris and Steve. I've got a 2-litre bottle of cider. I've got me weed. I think I'm a fucking king. Got some food. And they exchanged money, and she gave him pills. He went, "Do you want some?" And I'm thinking, "Oh, right, I've got to be part of it." Yeah, I'll have some. There you can. And I remember, I don't know what the pills were. It were white pills. There was 8 of them, and I didn't know not to nick them all at once. I nicked them all at once with my cider. 72 hours have went by, and I've ended up in a psychiatric hospital in Hastings. I woke up in a psychiatric hospital. Yeah, it was Queen Charlotte's Hospital, Seaview Ward. And
you're still 15 at this time?
Yeah. And what happened in between, there was reports of me scaling Centre Point building. And then I remember running through a country field, and behind me there was all these people chasing me. Now, this is before the film Scream come out, right? All these people had stretched faces. They had table legs for legs, right? Seriously. And they had axes, machetes, and they were chasing me, saying, "We're going to get you, we're going to get you." And I remember running through this field, and I seen a tree, and I climbed up the tree to get away from them. And all I was seeing was these people circling me. I'm just pure psychosis at the time. And remember when I said I was in Inverness? So the girl was called Julie. I found myself at this cottage. I knocked on the door, and 7 o'clock, I don't know what time it was in the morning, and this couple, dressed in gowns, opened the door, and this is, they phoned the police, it's all in the report. They opened the door and they said, "He just walked in." I just walked in, when it's Julie there. Just walked in the house, went to the kitchen, farmhouse table, started making himself a cup and some toast and that. And then what I do remember, which was real, is seeing all these blue lights. Untold police. I caused a siege at a house, and I didn't know, right? So the old bill have now got me, and I remember, 15, 16 coppers or something trying to get me out of the car to get me into the police station. I remember being in the police cell. Next thing I remember is waking up on a bed in a psychiatric hospital. I didn't even know where I was at first. I didn't even know my name. They didn't know my name. You know, they didn't know where I was from. And I look around and I see all these people like proper psychiatric ward. Craziness going on there. And I panicked and I went to run for the door. Well, they pinned me down and inject me in the backside with something, which knocked me out, and I woke up on the bed. The next time I was strapped to the bed, and that immediately, still not knowing who I was, my name and stuff like that, They diagnosed me with acute schizophrenia brought on by a drug psychosis, which was bullshit because they hadn't assessed me properly. They hadn't done anything really. They just chose to give me a diagnosis, which from the behaviours of me, that's what they thought it was, but it was a false diagnosis. And I ended up there for about 2 weeks until everything came together, who I was, where I was from, and the social services came from South Shields on the train to pick us up, brought us back. I was on procyclidine, which is non-psychotic drugs. Before you had to take them, that's what they told me I had to do. And they put me in the top of the house in Westoe and left me there to my own devices with a breakfast pack. And then I got back into the circle of friends I was in. That's when I was 15.
Yeah.
And that's when I ended up going doing the chemist job and got caught in the chemist and ended up going to prison and came out on my 16th birthday from Lower Newton Prison. That's when it was mixed, male and female youth offenders. And ended up running away again. I just kept running away and running away, and I don't know what I was looking for.
How did you feel at this point? Because when I'm listening to you talk and you're saying, oh, I'm 15, like, did you feel like a kid then?
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of up to the age of 15, and yeah, a lot of things that a kid shouldn't see. I never lived a proper childhood in a sense, you know. I was always manipulated by other things, and yeah, I grew before I ran before I could walk, basically. But it was also, my head was so clouded and confused. I was medicated up. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no direction. And for me, the care system didn't do me any favour. I know now, they just had the best intentions for me because it was a good care homes I was in, you know, they weren't bad people. And I just took the chance of hitchhiking back down to London, where I met Sue. And there was a lot of other things that happened in Weston-super-Mare, but I met Sue. It was one of the best things that happened because then we had my son. But we went from Weston-super-Mare to Bristol, where she lived, and I ended up begging for two and a half weeks to get £250 deposit, because I thought I've left my family, which I didn't have. I did. I've got a massive family which loved me massively, but I
Felt like they weren't there.
Yeah. Not that they didn't understand me.
Yeah.
Not that they weren't there for me. They just couldn't understand me. They couldn't understand what was going on.
What did you feel like they didn't understand though?
My situation, what was actually, how I was affected by the things I seen, I heard. I mean, I heard, and my mum, you know what I mean, she's went through some shit. I've heard that woman scream, you know. I've seen her black eyes. Responsibility for my brother, who's a year and a half younger than me. He's got cerebral palsy, you know. At times I had to drag him down the stairs on his backside because he couldn't walk, just get him in his wheelchair to escape the house, you know. So the family never seen all that or heard the full extent of it, but also has an effect on the child seeing all that. And I thought I was better just to run away, sort of thing, you know. I suppose I was looking for peace, and I was looking for a better way of life. Not that my mum didn't try, just the partners was bad decision, and that's not her fault neither, you know what I mean? You don't go into a relationship straight away and being bad, you find out the bad relationship after you're in it, you know? So that was me, like down Weston-super-Mare, and moved to Bristol, where my son was born, 95, and it was great. I had a 2-bedroom house, and back then, my income was weights and measures, and I had good friendship and relationships with people in Bristol, and I started selling the weed, so they wanted for nothing. I was doing okay, and what we never knew at a young age was what postnatal depression was. So she went from 9 stone to 16.5 stone, and I love this girl every day, more and more and more as time was going on, because now I've got my family, I've got my son coming to the world, you know what I mean? But she thought I never fancied her, I loved her. You know what I mean? I found her attractive, but she didn't realise I did. You know what I mean? I didn't see all what she was seeing in herself, but postnatal depression and stuff like that. I woke up one morning, it was in September it was. I woke up one morning, sunny day, St. Jude's, 20 John Cousin's house, and the house was silent. And I thought, oh, she maybe just went for a walk with a bear, and an hour went by, and back then there was no mobile phones. I think we were lucky to have a pager, you know what I mean? So it was like phone box, and was putting on a phone box because she ain't got a phone, you know what I mean? So it was a case of just waiting game, and my head was starting to go west, where is she? And all of a sudden, I got a knock on the door, and it was the police, and I was known to the police down there already, and they went, Charlton, it's all right, we're not here for you. We just come to tell you that Sue's at the police station with Ricky. She's hysterical. She said you've done nothing wrong, but she thinks you're better off without them. And I went, what do you mean? I need something. They went, no, just we've got her. You know what I mean? We're sorting stuff out, and she will be in touch. And straight away, I went next door to me, mate. I went, this has just happened. You went, what? You went, done a bong. You smoke the weed and that. I went, go on then, but then he put this brown powder on top. You could have said to me, smack and crack, and I thought they were the same because they sounded the same. That's how naive I was to that sort of drug. But it came to a point I had this, and all of a sudden I felt a bit sick, and I started drifting off, which I know is a gouge, where you nod off, and for about 4 or 5 hours, I wasn't in that space. And I started coming around and sort of shook myself a little bit, ran straight next door to see my boy was back, and he wasn't. I came back, I went, oh mate, there's another one of them. And that's where I realised I found this escapism from all this depression, all the stuff that's going on in my head, not understanding what I was getting into, but at the same time, the so-called friend never gave me no warning signs, never told me what it was. And I did ask him like what it was, and he said basically it's heroin. You know, breaking it down, he said, yeah, and I'm saying what's here, blah, blah, blah. But basically, he turned around and said it was heroin. Still didn't give me the full understanding.
How old were you at this point again?
18 turning 19.
18 turning 19?
Yeah, so it was 19 when I first started taking heroin and crack. And was smoking on the bong. And it was a few weeks that went by, and when people say like you take the first time you get addicted to it, that's a sort of a bit of a myth, you know what I mean? It has to be a bit of build up in the system. So it was like a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks or something like that. And I started getting like the snivels, like the cold symptoms. I started getting aches in my body. And I thought, like, is it cold? Is it a flu? Until you had the foil out. You went have a couple of lines. So I still remember the taste and the vision. Have a couple of lines, and all of a sudden the snivels went away and the pains went away. And then the shit in my head stopped. You know, so that's when I found my new friend. You know.
So is that kind of like the process that it takes you through, where you're kind of just chasing your own tail now, like you feel like crap because of what you've been taking, you get aches and pains, you take it again to get rid of those.
Yeah, it's like, you ever heard the term chase a dragon?
Nah.
So chasing a dragon is when you're chasing on the foil. But obviously you chase a dragon, but you never catch it because you're always chasing it, you're always following it and turning it, you know what I mean, until it's gone, and then you're on to the next one. It's just, it was a vicious. It was so easy to get into it, and obviously at 19 years old, I knew about weights and measures, I knew about me dope and speed acid, all the sort of recreational sort of things, but nothing about this sort of class A stuff. And that's when addiction hit me, and that's when the freebies started coming. Oh, you got to chip in, and then the £10 bags, and obviously at first I thought, yeah, I can do that, but then that habit goes up really quickly, and then all of a sudden you're into a zone where that's all you want. You want to be numb. You want to forget about the shit. And my house and everything I had in it started depleting bit by bit. I started selling bits and bobs, and then I had nothing to sell. And I went, what do I do now? My mate said about shoplifting. Well, at the beginning I was a shit shoplifter, so that didn't work. But then I went a bit naughty and I started doing burglaries to support my addiction, and I ended up getting arrested in 1999. My first proper man's prison sentence, you know. And it was fucking rough, mate. It was Victorian prison, and I seen the Millennium in jail. I seen my 21st in jail in 2000, and then on the 27th of September 2000, I came out of Bullingdon, Oxfordshire prison, where I thought, because she started writing to me and that, I thought it was going to be happy families again. They'd be back in my house, which she said she was. But what happened? She moved to Bristol. I mean, she moved to London with Ricky and met another fella, but she was sending letters to her friend, Hannah, in Bristol, to repost to Horfield. So I had the Bristol postmark on, so all my sentence I thought that she was still in Bristol.
Yeah.
So when I came out and I returned to Bristol to my place and knocked on the door, it was an African couple opened the door. And I went to walk in, he was like, "What are you doing?" I went, "It's my house." He went, "No, mate, we've had this for 6 months. I went, "That's my carpet and that's my wallpaper." He went, "No, this is..." So I got on the council, and the council told me she gave the tenancy up.
You just didn't know?
Nah, I didn't know. So I went, where do I go? What do I do? Because I still hadn't experienced homelessness properly.
Yeah.
You know, I've been a free spirit up till then, in a sense I could go around and I had no addictions to hold me down, which, you know what I mean, I could just go anywhere I want and not have a bit of worry, get some food from a church or wherever. But this was different then, and the Salvation Army was across the road. And ended up putting myself into the Salvation Army, and 2 days later relapsed because everyone was on it.
Yeah.
You know. And I ended up coming back home briefly to see my dad. Because I said, "Dad," for me and dad didn't have a relationship, but we had a relationship, you know. And he went, "Yeah, just come home." And my dad helped me do a cold turkey, because he never knew what cold turkey was from heroin. And I got so bad that they had to get an ambulance for me. So I ended up coming out of the hospital back to my dad's and that, and for some reason I just packed my bag and left my dad's and went back down to London to find my son, where me and her mum were in contact, you know, and she told me where they were and she gave me the number, so I phoned her and she come and met me. She come and met me in the car with a new fella, and Nachi, which is a lovely bloke. He looked after my son for many years, like a father. And back in London, where there's all the homeless people go in London Bridge. So I went to London Bridge, and for about 3 days, I never knew where to get a sleeping bag from, never knew where to get any food, like outreaches, day centre, never knew nothing about that. So I remember Guy's Hospital, St Guy's Hospital, and I'm walking around it and I'm freezing, and I see like at the back there was lockups, and I had all these trolleys of sheets and blankets. So I'm looking around, I just ran in, grabbed some sheets and legged it. And that was my first proper spell of experience what homelessness was underneath London Bridge. Not London Bridge Station, not London Bridge Station. In the tunnel, lying down on a bit of cardboard with hospital sheets on me. So from there it stemmed into a crazy 16 years on the streets of London, where I ended up going through shoplifting. There was no burglaries in London, it was shoplifting, street robberies, street level drug dealing in the end, and county lines. And you said earlier on about, do you think you grew up before you should have? That's where I had to grow up really, really quickly. And the things I've seen, the things I've had to do, things that have been done to me, you know, it's quite scary. I'm very, very lucky to be here, mate. As I said, I've done a few prison sentences while I was in London, more related to petty shoplifting in the beginning, but then it escalated to me working for the gangs down there and being a street level drug dealer, then being part of the county lines where I used to go from like London to Norwich or London to Portsmouth, you know, back and forth all the time. But with all that scenes, you know, it's not like a 9-to-5 job, and there's an 88 charter complaint, you know what I mean? And once you're in there, and I'm very lucky to be out of it.
Was there anyone you met on the streets who was like a big positive influence on you? Or was it like quite hard to find those positive influences when you're on the street?
Now and again someone would pop up, but then sometimes you keep your friends closer and your enemies even closer. You know, when it comes to addiction, everyone, I mean, we had a good group of people, you know, like when you're on the street you'll find you got a community. You know, you find with addiction it's normally you get someone that can be your best friend one day, next thing they're clucking and they try to rob you or try to have you over, you know. The influence I had, the good influence I had from the street was a stranger. I took a stranger to help a stranger, and that he wasn't homeless, he was a businessman, but he interacted with me and seen something I couldn't see myself. John Morris passed away in 2017, but he helped me reunite with my family and helped me get back home and that. So it took a while for me, 20 years, you know what I mean, to start like realising that, listen, I'm better than this and I've got something more to give to life. And that's where, as I said, John, if it wasn't for John, I wouldn't be in the position I am in now, you know, and if it wasn't for Bertie, I wouldn't have my place at the Fish Quay, and it wasn't for the people from the North East, actually around the country now, you know what I mean? But yeah, I've got plenty of people to fall on. I need to use that network more because, as I said earlier on, you know, I've had a bad few weeks of it, but I've had a bad year of it as well. Yeah. But the last few weeks has just been one thing after another.
Do you think it's, because I'm assuming that when you're living on the street, going through the things that you went through, and a lot of it is you relying on yourself to make decisions, get through the things that you're experiencing, to overcome the things that you're experiencing. Mm-hmm. Do you find it hard to reach out for help when you need it because you're just so used to being the one who, like, it was only you could rely on, basically?
Yeah. My mate, my go-to, my brother from another borough, Mike, he said the same thing. He said, trust us, man. And, you know, everything I'm saying it for you. Yeah. I'm not saying it for anything. It's for me. This is for you. And I've told him straight, I said, Mike, it's so hard for me to trust anybody. You know, I'm getting there. Yeah. I'm getting there. You know, but it's really hard, and I'm always aware. I'm always on, like, you know, I'm like a meerkat. I can't really relax in the social environment, and because as much as like the mask is saying, oh, he's having a great time, I'm like that. Bam. I'm always watching. I'm gonna be talking to you about. I'm watching what's going on, and it's all about, you know, because I've always had to look over my shoulder. Yeah. You know, and I've always, no one's gonna go out and get my money for me to get my gear. No one's gonna mother me, you know what I mean? Say, oh, you just stay there, I'll go and support you. I had to do everything like that, and people say, why don't you just come off it? It's so hard to come off that stuff when the system that's providing the services for detoxification doesn't work, you know. And the methadone didn't work for me. They were giving an opiate to an opiate addict to sort himself out. It's like getting an alcoholic and telling them to go to a brewery to get dry. Doesn't work, you know. So like the failure of the system, failure of myself as well, but the failure of the system more than anything, I couldn't get out of it, you know, and it got worse and worse and worse to a point. You see me in 2014, that photograph, you know, law of averages, that kid shouldn't be here, you know. I did die 3 times, got saved by the NHS 3 times, and they lost me leg twice through injecting, swallowing drugs, overdosing, you know. So yeah, I'm appreciate where I am now, and I appreciate being alive, but at the same time, I've still got the demons upstairs. Just not long ago, which makes sense to me, I got diagnosed with complex PTSD. And I said immediately, I don't want to be diagnosed or labelled PTSD because I only believed that people from war got that, soldiers, heroes and that, you know what I mean? I'm not a hero. He went, my PTSD didn't happen in the army. He said, my PTSD happened when I came out as a paramedic. He went, you've been through 25 years. And it's not just PTSD you got me, it's not just one event or 2 events that's happening in your life. You've had complex situations week in, week out over years which you've had to face, and this is you, complex PTSD, and put me on meds and that, which is sort of balancing my head out a little bit.
And I suppose if you're in survival mode for so many years, bad things are happening to you, experiencing like awful situations, you've got no time to sit down and reflect and let what's happening sink in and find a space where you can be safe and you can, you know, go through the motions of dealing with it.
Yeah, because anything I was trying to deal with I'd take something to suppress it.
Yeah.
You know, any bad thoughts, any depression. I was just, yeah, anything I could get a hold of just to get me through the day, to get my head out my head.
Yeah.
You know.
And how do you deal with all that now? Like, I'm assuming you're still processing and going through the motions of trying to, you know, improve and just get better with dealing with your PTSD.
I keep myself busy by helping others, but at the same time I've done that so much I forgot about myself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's been one of my downfalls in the last year. You know what I mean? But I not understanding the everyday things that we grow up with. You know, like your childhood, your teens, your 18 to 20, 25, going out club, all that sort of, and that's where relationships, that's where you learn, you know, but I was learning from like 38 years old, you know what I mean?
And what do you do for yourself now? What are the things that or like the spaces you create for yourself to, you know, look after yourself?
I haven't. I've neglected myself over the last year, and I'm being brutally honest, like putting out there. Yeah, I've neglecting myself, been quite selfish as well to the people that are closest to me. You know what I mean? Because I've locked them off. When I felt bad, I've locked myself off, and that's not good. You know what I mean? Because I'm my own space, my own head. It's not a good place to be. I'm my own worst enemy. Try to find a safe space. Well, we're in a nice safe space now. Like I said, I open my window at the top there, and I look out to the Tyne, and I just watch the ripples go by, whether they're going in or out the tide, you know what I mean? I try to say that's my problems being washed away, but sometimes I'm getting my head so much it runs, and I find a safe space is hard when you're in a bad space like that. And trying to understand all this without having the substance to forget about it, you know, has been a challenge as well, because I faced my feelings and emotions, whichever way it was, with drugs, you know, to numb it. Now I haven't got that to numb it. It's like a pressure cooker of years and years and years of shit. It just went boom like that, and trying to process all that's been really, really, really hard. Trying to help people understand who want to understand, to help me, you know what I mean? It's been really hard to explain. And some of my choices and actions that I've done has affected friendships, relationships, and I beat myself up, you know. I beat myself up because, like, my actions and didn't need to be that way, so I'm very defensive. And with relationships, I'm very being accepted, you know what I mean, is a big part of like coming out of addiction, is being accepted by in society, never mind the friends that you've got. And that's I hyper focus, you know. So like, I'm not going to say the last name, which was amazing last year. I had a lush lass, and I got scared. Got scared because I never seen or had that attention. And then I've got this beautiful woman in my life, which I screwed up because it was too good. I was waiting for something to happen, which I've always had, you know, good things, no. Something happens, something always happens. That's what I was waiting for, and I self-sabotage myself, self-sabotage the relationship, because, yeah, I'm 46 now, and I've lived a life, but there's a certain life I haven't lived, and that's growing up in friends, circles, socialising without all the badness and shit, and enjoying life and understanding and learning about what relationships are and stuff, you know. And that's not just like a physical relationship with a female, it's just in general, you know, and trust. I need to start trusting people more.
Do you feel like you deserve good things?
Yeah, that's what I do, but all the shit, I mean, I've got blood on my hands, mate, you know. There's a lot of stuff I've had to do and seen and that, you know, which I would love to go back, turn the clocks back and change it, but you can't. And it's hard to say that I'm proud of myself or I deserve better because of all the shit I've done, but I do deserve better. I am worth something, you know, and what I can put back now into society is priceless.
Yeah, and I only say that because I know I know our experiences are different, but in terms of feelings, you know, I felt like I don't deserve things based on who I've been in the past, who I thought I was, and the shame that then comes with that, like living in your head where you start to go through moments and periods of time where like self-loathing really kind of becomes a blanket over you, and it's hard to see the good for the bad and to receive the good. And you know, it takes a lot to find a place where you go, oh no, I do deserve this, like I'm a good person. Yes, I've done bad things or assumed I've done bad things, but it still doesn't mean that you don't deserve good things to happen.
Yeah. I mean, good things have happened to me. It's all come together now, bit by bit. I hope this year is my year, you know, where I can make more change, and hopefully I can change like the central government's idea of and the policies of homelessness and addiction. And that's one of the things, my goal before my last breath, you know what I mean? I want to make, not just changing people and change people's way of thinking about what homelessness and addiction is change the system itself. You know, I want to make a change in the system that's going to make a better way of life so people don't have to struggle like I've had to struggle. Because I had to go through all this. I had to do sit-down protests to come off methadone. I came off the heroin and crack on my own, the methadone I reduced on my own. The alcohol, I did go for detox for that. But it was 20 years of a struggle and 20 years of failure of the system. Every time I went to detox, it was 7-day detox, and they put you back out with no aftercare and support, which is a failure because you're still an addict. You haven't addressed the issues of behind it and the underlying issues that caused it, you know what I mean? And like I said, my problems didn't start at 19 years old when I started smoking heroin and crack. It didn't start at 14 years old when I ran away from home. It started at 3 years old seeing my mum being hit and stuff like that, you know, and everything else that went on after that.
And what's one thing that you're proud of yourself for now?
That I came off heroin and crack and methadone, because I know people that have come off heroin and crack but still be on methadone all their lives because they can't come off it. You know, it's such a dangerous drug to give to someone. And I mean, methadone was invented in 1938 by Hitler's scientists because they ran out of morphine for the soldiers' injuries.
Okay.
So the scientists had to come up with something to replace it. So they come up with method 1. Put method 1 together, you got methadone.
That's interesting. I didn't know
Right,
that.
yeah, you can Google all that search and check it out. So it was Hitler scientists who invented it in 1938, and then they sent it over to America in the late 60s, early 70s because of the big opiate pandemic, thinking now we've got an opiate that replaces morphine, which is opium, you know, and all it's done is prolong people's agony, you know. As I say, it took me longer to come off methadone than I did heroin. You know, I'm only 7.5 years off the methadone. I'm 9 years clean off the heroin and crack, you know, so you can see the time frame difference. And that's another thing I need to change, is changing the detoxification of methadone. It needs to be stopped, you know, and that's why I work with North Tyneside Council at the minute, you know, to try and work out a programme, which hopefully in 5 years, that's our plan, 5-year plan, because it's a big package to put together to get a detox stabilisation unit, the first ever style in the UK, where people can come and stabilise, reduce, but also have the wraparound support before and after. You know, it's very complex needs that people have to address, you know what I mean? You can't just expect people to do detox and come back out into society. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's going to cost a lot of money, but in the long run it'll be cost effective, because what that person like myself can bring back in society is priceless. You know, you can't buy that, you know. So them investing in them, they'll get reinvested, because if you give anyone an opportunity and chance like I have, you take it with both hands. But obviously my experiences of the last year and that, I can also take that forward as with people, you know what I mean, and know where my failings of myself and still the system, I can try and help people understand that this is not how to think about yourself, it's not the way to do things, you know.
I mean, that's a beautiful thing, to go through everything that you have done and to get to the space that you are now, helping people, like, I don't think I'll ever realise, or people will be able to realise, like, how much strength that takes to actually do that. Because, you know, Christ, like, being so young, as you said, like from 14, well, even earlier, all the things that you saw, experienced, like, you know, to turn that all around and to still be here, to still want to help people, like, that's fucking, like, incredible, that, man.
I mean,
And that's not, you know, I'm not here to, like, blow smoke up your arse, but
no.
it's just, like, hella inspiring
to
kind of hear that.
Yeah, so, like, people said that, you know, people have said I should be a lot more bitter, you know, I think I would be a lot more bitter coming out of the situation. Yeah, I could be, but that's not going to help me, and that's not going to help others, you know. So every time I do my talks, every time I do my spoken word, especially when I do my spoken word, that's my journey, you know, and I relive it every time. When I see a homeless person on the street, I see me, you know what I mean, and that's still a battle, because I don't want that. And like when you say looking at yourself, you're proud of yourself and that, sometimes I look in the mirror, I can't see the man that you're seeing. I still see the kid from 2014, because he's been like that for so many years. You know, that's hard, that's hard. I suppose hopefully there'll come a time where that reflection won't be there anymore, and I'll see who you see.
How does it make you feel though when you still see that kid and not the person that everybody else gets to see? You know, that really inspiring, helpful, positive person. Like, how does it make you feel that you can't see that person?
It hurts sometimes, it sort of hurts, but it's who I was for 20 years, you know, and for 20 years looking like that, to come out of it to who I am now. I mean, if I was given the opportunity and chances years ago, God knows where I would have been now, you know. But I'm glad I wasn't, and I'm glad I didn't, because I wouldn't be doing the podcast with you, and I wouldn't be in the situation where I am now, helping more people than I ever realised.
That's a beautiful thing, man. Well, I think before we end it, I don't know if you've got anything on your phone, but it'd be nice to actually hear one of your poems, like, if you can.
Yeah, I mean, I can do one now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
So this one's called To Die Clean. Because I've got two things in my life. One is to die clean of heroin and crack and methadone. That'll be put in my stone. And my dream is to open a recovery farm stabilisation unit. So this is to die clean. To die clean, why? That's my goal. Why? Because really I should be in the hole. Living the life I did with so much deception. Living the life I did with so much addiction. I was brought into this world innocent and free. Who could imagine I'd want to die clean? Die clean, I say, because that's my goal. I'm free from addiction. I'm free to come home. There you go.
That's fucking lush, that one, man.
And I'll do my last one, because I'll never go to this place again. It's quite, the title says it all. It's called No Bars. There'll be no bars on my window tonight. No security system to shut out my light. I am a free man. I've soared on the smoke and the breeze of the light. I was killed on park benches covered in shite. But right here, right now, I am a free man. There you go.
Mate, I appreciate that. That is
That's
fucking
cool.
lush.
Anytime, bro.
Proper good, man. You're really good at reciting your poems as well.
Yeah.
And also I'm impressed. I know you wrote them, but like,
I
keep
wrote
it all up here as well.
My poetry, actually, I'll quickly tell you, my poetry came about in 2010 in Norwich Prison when I was busted for county lines. And I was on a 12-step programme in a prison, in a circle full of big testosterone blokes. See, it's all right to cry and you get back in the wing, they'll pick you apart. And one of the stages, you had to talk about your journey, and I couldn't do it. And I went back to my cell and I said, let me try and write it down. And I started writing it down, and I was like, whatever. I said, that rhymes. So I started writing my first poem, which is called Unfortunate Beginnings. And that's where I started saying, right, that's my life. I'm putting in pen to paper. I'm not putting in a story. I'm putting in spoken word. Because I thought poetry is like cringy word. Because some people, you know what I mean? But it's not. But I call it spoken word because it sounds more powerful. And that's where my spoken word journey started. So I was lucky enough to open Liam Fender's second single and third single pre-sale shows with my spoken word. Because it was related to mental health and stuff like that, you know. It's got it out there. And that's when my events started, voice notes. You know, I do my open mic nights, and now I have performers come along, I have emerging talent coming along, and I've given a platform for people that are still in the care or constantly, you know what I mean? I've got kids that are coming from the care system, kids that are suffering DV, I've got kids that have got autism come up, haven't had the place or confidence, or people haven't the patience and time to have them there, but I give them a platform, and that makes me feel good. See that they've got a safe space, which I wish I had someone like me back then to say, hey, been there, man, done it. But there you go, you do what you want to do, you express yourself, mate.
I do think it is that thing that like you do kind of radiate this like good energy and like open and comfortable energy. Like you're a very easy person to just meet and crack on with. Like,
but I've had to be. When you're on the street for 25 years, you can't just be silent. You have to communicate, and not just communicate. You have to communicate with a vast, with people from all walks of life. All walks of life, you know what I mean? So everyone's got a different personality, and when you've got thousands of people that you're interacting with all the time, you pick up how to communicate and talk, you know what I mean? And who you can talk to, who you have to be careful with, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's just been natural for me to do that and go out and talk to anyone, mate.
Aye. Well, I'll let you go and get your Sunday lunch now.
Oh, I can't wait for it, man. Get me Yorkies.
I'll have to find myself a place to get one.